Well, Victorian opposition leader John Pesutto is walking a very slippery slope as the defamation crisis cripples his leadership further. Frontbencher Sam Groth has tonight quit the front bench, saying he can't ethically remain there given the nature of Mr Pesutto's defamation defeat against Moira Deeming. And what a defeat it was. Moira Deeming was vindicated yesterday. All she ever did was stand up for women's rights. But this represents so much more. Why should women be slandered for wanting to protect the rights of women to ensure they have safe access to single-sex spaces? Joining me now is Rachel Wong, Women's Forum Australia CEO. Rachel, really good to see you. Thank you so much for joining me. What does this verdict mean for women like Moira Deeming who stand up for women's rights?
Well, as you say, Moira was vindicated yesterday, but so was every woman that attended that rally and every person who has been slandered and silenced simply for defending the rights and safety of women and children that have been destroyed by radical gender ideology. And, you know, that verdict was a damning indictment of Pesutto, not only in legal terms, but in terms of his character and leadership, or lack thereof. And it was a resounding affirmation that people should be able to stand up for what they believe in and to be able to stand up for the rights and safety of women and children without being attacked and slurred for doing so.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a fundamental right that we have to be able to speak so freely against this. And this is what bothers me the most about this whole thing. But I've got to say, Rachel, you know, this is just one victory. And it was a fantastic victory. But the battle seems to continue when it comes to fighting for women's rights and especially their rights to be able to access single-sex spaces. That's
right. Look, the fight does continue, and I think Moira's win yesterday has only inspired and motivated more people to join it. But we find ourselves in Australia in an appalling situation where the sex-based rights of women and girls have been eroded now across the country, where men can legally identify as women and lawfully access female-only spaces, services and sports. You know, we have male rapists in women's prisons in Australia. We have female athletes suffering head injuries from biological male players. We have girls being forced to share changing rooms with naked men. It's utterly appalling. And Women's Forum Australia, we've launched a campaign recently which calls on Australian leaders to right this shameful situation and to restore the sex-based rights of women and girls across the country. And I encourage every Australian to get involved with that. And they can visit womensforumaustralia.org/XX.
Oh, look, get involved because it is an important discussion to be had. Now, look, I want to go overseas for a moment because Britain has banned puberty blockers for under 18s who believe that they are transgender, and they ruled that it posed an unacceptable safety risk to children and teenagers. I mean, who would have thought? I don't think you needed to, you know, you don't need to be a road scholar to figure that out. But how positive a step forward is this?
Look, it's a fantastic step and I'm just so happy to see it. Australia has been behind the UK on this issue for quite some time now, and us doing nothing and sitting on our hands is absolutely unexcusable. I've met multiple detransitioners now and I've seen firsthand the psychological and physical devastation that puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones and transgender surgeries are causing them, not to mention the emotional blackmail that their parents are facing to go along with these treatments. And it's high time that our leaders did something. You know, where is the Prime Minister on this? Where is Health Minister Mark Butler?
Well, why can't we have the debate here in Australia? Because, I mean, we've seen multiple cases where you speak up against it, you say something and suddenly you're hauled in front of a tribunal, you're in front of a court, you've got a lawyer's email in your inbox. Why are we so scared?
Look, we have these activist gender clinicians embedded throughout our healthcare system who are committed to this ideology at all costs, no matter the destruction, no matter the evidence that's presented to them. And then we have MPs who are just too scared to do anything. And quite frankly, look, I know we've got cancel culture. I know people are afraid of being cancelled. But the reality is, if anything, these activists should be scared of them. They're the ones who have been funded to the tune of millions of dollars by our governments. So, you know, our governments need to do something. Our leaders need to do something. We need puberty blockers and other transitioning practices to be halted immediately, and we need an urgent independent inquiry into these practices.
I completely agree. Rachel Wong, well done on all the work you do speaking up against this. It's so important that we have this conversation. So credit to you for getting out there. Good to see you. Thank you so much for joining me on the show this evening. Appreciate it.